Assalamu alaikum and hello. My name is Asya Bajwa. There were two things that I did when I started my Etsy shop, and I believe that if I share those tricks, that will be very helpful. The first thing that I did was more related to photography and the idea of it, and that helped me a lot in bringing more views to my shop. Also, Etsy supported my listing by promoting it for free because they used it to promote their website. And the second thing that I did was related more to editing your photograph. This is the thing that I will be sharing in this video step by step, and I will show you exactly what I did and how successful it was. So let's begin. Now, when you upload a photograph on Etsy, you have three options. One is that you don't touch your photograph, you don't do any editing at all, and you do some good photography using some good lighting, but you don't touch your photograph afterwards. You can add some brightness in your camera, like in the setting of your camera, and afterwards you upload it. This is not going to work because it's going to look outdated and it's going to give out the message that you're not professional enough like your competitors, and it's also not going to be a very pleasant experience because it's not about photography. Like, I might be out on a limb if I say that photography is important, but there are a few other things that are even more important, let's say. So this is not going to help much. In fact, it's maybe not going to bring you any sales. The second option that you have is to use filters or to do some editing, like little bit, like adding brightness or sharpness or contrast and vibration, maybe. Sorry, vibrant. Yeah, to make it vibrant. This is not going to help because it's going to make your entire photograph very bright and sharp, and maybe high contrast is going to look a little bit irritating. So it's all about the experience that potential buyer is going to get when they look at your photograph. So it's not as simple as you think. The third option is the one that I will be sharing with you today. It's about manually editing your photograph. Like, we will be making unnecessary things or unpleasant things a little bit toned down, and we will make important things more prominent, things that are actually in your product, let's say. Also, we are going to make a few colors that in real life look very bright in your photograph, and maybe camera has not captured it exactly the way it is. So we are going to actually match it more with what it looks like in real life. This is going to give a very pleasant experience to buyers or potential buyers, and they will stay longer on your photograph. And because the shadows and unnecessary things are muted, it will look very pleasant to their eyes. And because important things are more clear, it's going to be an effortless thing to look at it, and it's going to give them an impression on how exactly the thing is in real life. So without any further ado, I think we should start. But one more thing, it's very important to tell you, is that I did this trick. It worked for me. There was a lot of momentum, and people were messaging me that they wanted something from my shop and it was sold. They wanted me to recreate it for them, and also some people wanted me to upload new products so that they can choose from it. I tried to be more fast in my work. I skipped few steps, and this is one of the steps that I skipped. But with that, I found a drop in my sales afterwards, which I did not notice at first because I took a short break from, like, not a short break you can say, but for a year or two there was some renovation in my house and I took a break from Etsy. But when I came back, I just thought that it was a fresh start, and I did some more experiments and I used filters and many other shortcuts, but nothing worked like this one. So because of that, I have before and after shots for you. So in the before shots, I did some editing in few listings, but most of the listings are unedited. So let me show you that. So you can see here that my shop looked pretty dull before, and now things are very prominent. You can see a side-by-side comparison as well. So in the after shots, you can see that everything is more clear. It is bright, it is brighter than before, but it's more clear as well. Especially you feel the difference when you open it in search. Before it was very dull and it did not stand out with other people's listings, and but now it kind of looks attractive. It's very tiny detail in my painting, but you can still see that it looks attractive in search. And before, when people clicked on it, it opened in a very small size, as you can see here, that it looks very tiny and nothing is prominent. But now it looks very clear and it opens in a large size. Especially the first image is very clear and very prominent and very pleasant experience. So what I do is I use GIMP as my software. It's a free software, so it's good to use that. And I open my photograph in it. The first photograph is more important, and by clicking that button down there, I make few copies of my photograph, and I work on second last copy first. So I go to colors and I add some brightness and contrast, some curves, some levels, some exposure. I add all that to my photograph. Now we are working on layers. So in this layer we added all brightness and contrast. Now I want to save the project. I want you to save the project as well, because it's a little bit long process. So we could work on it in parts. So for that we need to save our project. But now I'm going to work on the third listing from below, and I'm going to do completely opposite on it. I'm going to add all darkness and all contrasts, like black level of exposure as well, so that we can have some darkness in our painting, in our like product or listing. But we want to do that on selective areas, so I'm going to add a mask, and by having that white and black color on side, you click the delete button on your keyboard, and with this the mask disappears. But now we are going to choose brush, and I'm going to add wherever I want to add the darkness using this brush. Now I can adjust the size of the brush from the side toolbar. Also I can adjust the contrast levels. So I'm just moving this brush by clicking the left button on the mouse, and I'm just moving this brush wherever I want to make the area prominent. You can see a very little difference in where the brush moves, because you can see already it's very clear the area that I have worked on, and also on the black screen you can see some white dots in real life. So by this I'm just I have made the opacity very low, but you can add more opacity, and afterwards you can just decrease the opacity of your layer. But we don't want to change the photograph very much. We just want a few areas to look more prominent. So whatever I want to make more prominent, I'm working with my brush on it, but I'm not trying to change the photograph much. So you have to do it with moderation. You don't want to be crazy with your photograph, and you don't want to end up messing it up. If you do a mistake, go to edit and click undo. Also, you can change the colors from the side, bring the black color on top and white below, and with that your mask is going to work in the opposite way, and you can just run the brush wherever you want to correct it, and it will remove that impression from it. So I'm just doing it. I change the size of my brush whenever I feel like. I want these pencil marks to be very prominent. I want people to enjoy it, because in real life they look very interesting. So you have to imagine how, or maybe you can keep your real product in front of you. You have to see how it looks like in real life, and keeping that in mind, you can add interesting things in your photograph. Like you can whatever looks more interesting in a real life in that product, you can make it more prominent in your photograph so that buyers can actually see it the way it is in real life. Okay, now I'm working on the topmost layer because in my painting, the yellow color is more like a highlighter. So I want to make it look more like a highlighter in this photograph because it doesn't look like that in here. Not good enough for me. So I'm using, you can experiment with different tools in here. You can also go to check out different tutorials on YouTube on these things, on GIMP, I mean, and you can improve your photograph manually the way you feel it works for you, or maybe it looks more closer to what it is in real life. So I'm just adding some yellow. I have an increased intensity of yellow in my painting, and I'm using a mask again, and I'm just selectively applying that yellow intensity wherever I feel I should, like wherever the yellow color actually is. So there are different ways of doing it. I don't add much saturation in my um, photograph because I feel that it makes it more like filters. I don't like it personally. I have used it in my shop, but I have ended up deciding that it's not a good idea. So I thought I should share it with you. Now I've gone back to the third listing from below, and I'm working on the darkness again. Adding some minute detail actually works like wonders. Like people enjoy it more. So I keep the first listing safe and I don't touch it, and you can see that how it was and how it looks now. Also, I have added this canvas on top of another canvas, so I want people to notice it because I want them to see that this is something special and different about this product. So I'm just making it a little bit dark, and I also want to show you that what you can do if you do a mistake. So I'm just adding a little color on side so that I can show you that you can change the black, bring the black on top, and just rub your brush again on the same area. Maybe increase the opacity a little bit and rub it, and that's gone. Right? It's a little bit long process to remove it like this, but if you go a few steps ahead and then you notice a mistake, you can correct it like this. Otherwise, go to edit and and click undo. Undo that, whatever specific step you want to undo. Now I'm just adding some darkness on sides, and you can zoom out and see how it works. You can zoom in again and correct it. You can export your picture as JPG, and you can upload it on your shop and see how the result is. And then you can maybe edit it more. You can do whatever you like. Now see the difference in before and after already. It looks so much better. But this is not enough. Still, it's not very prominent. Still, it's not very interesting. When you work on few listings, you understand yourself better and you understand what is working for your photograph, and then it becomes easy to work on other listings. It's a little bit long process, but it's very interesting. I sometimes play an interview, or you can play music while doing this. So for creative people, it's very relaxing because you don't do any creativity here. You just like playing a video game. You can go ahead and change other photographs in the same listing too, because if you just work on the first photograph, other photographs are going to look very different, which we don't want. But I don't do the brush work in every photograph. You can do that if you have that much time. Sometimes I do that as well because I was used to do that actually. So maybe I'll do that again, but right now I have just done that work on first photograph, like all the brush work. Okay, now what I want is I want to make the background a little bit more light, but I don't want the main painting to look light. So I've added a mask. I've made a copy of my second layer, and I've added mask on top of it. I've added more contrast as well, and then on the layer below I have added more light to decrease the intensity of shadow. You will have to definitely go ahead and watch a few tutorials on GIMP to understand it completely. This is not a tutorial on GIMP. It is just giving you an idea on what exactly I do, and you'll have to figure out what works for your photograph and your product, because maybe your product is not like mine. If it's a complicated shape, you might have to use a select tool that is for complicated shapes. So you definitely need to check out more tutorials on it. This one is just a quick glimpse on what I do and to show you the difference and to tell you what and how it works and why it works. So you can see that in search it already looks pretty prominent. I actually like this it in this step, but I went further. I wanted to make the photograph look very large when people click on it, because I believe it's going to give a very good impression. So I'm using the crop tool of Etsy, and you can see that it looks like this afterwards in search. And before, when you clicked on it, it looked pretty like ordinary, not a very good impression. But now when you click on it, when people are going to click on it in search, it's going to open in a very large size. Also, it's going to look very clear. I absolutely love the first photograph. I'll maybe go ahead and edit other photographs too. I have edited other photographs a little bit, but not as much as the first one. You can also, if you have a wall or anything in the background that is damaged, you can use the clone tool. It's a very good tool and you can correct it. I have made a little bit correction on the wall. This is it. I hope that you have learned a lot from this video, and stay connected for the other point that I was telling you about, which brought me many views and which brought me a free promotion by Etsy, because they use that listing to bring more views or viewers to the site. So that was a big achievement for me. Also, the sales that I have on my shop is a good achievement for, like, it's a big achievement for me, because in my country there's no PayPal, and there's no easy way to send payment to me. People literally had to go out of their house, out of their comfort zone to send me payment. Also, they had to trust me for that. So I'm really thankful to God for this kind of success. So every sale matters. Even your first sale is feels like a success. And now that I'm recording this video, I can already see a change in views, like a lot of improvement in views and in favorites. And hopefully I'll see more sales too. All the best to you guys and all the best to me. Stay connected and we'll see you again. Goodbye.